Now it's recording.
And thank you, ma'am. I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Richard Caskey. I'm the chair for the Country Club Park PID board here in Grand Prairie. I'd like to welcome you all to the meeting here for August 11th, 2020. And in accordance with the Texas Governor's March 13th, 2020 disaster declaration and subsequent suspension of certain Texas Open Meetings Act provisions, the meeting of the commission or the board is hereby called to order via teleconference at this time of 6:32 p.m. And folks, just to let you know, we do have a script to read because of the requirements by law for open meetings, so I'll be sticking to this script. So please bear with us. This is our first time doing this. So as this meeting is being held throughout the teleconference, each speaker should announce their name before they're speaking each time they speak. And the meeting follows a printed agenda that is available online and was posted according to the Open Meetings Act. And we will begin with a roll call. So could each member of the board please say here when your name is called? Betty.
Here.
Anita.
Here.
Anthony.
I'm here.
Larry.
Here.
Oh, Larry's here. Very good. Lincoln. Don't hear from Lincoln. Karen. All right. So we have 5 board members. We do have a quorum, and let the record reflect that we have 5 members are present, and this satisfies the quorum requirement. In an effort to minimize disruptions, the following meeting guidelines will apply. Board members, staff, and citizens, please keep your phone on mute at all times unless you are speaking. That'll help keep the noise down a little bit. When we hit an agenda item, the city staff will present first on every agenda item that we cover. If a board member wishes to speak, please state your name. And once I call on you, clearly state your name every time at the beginning. And that's because we're recording and this is a record for us. And after the board finishes their discussion, I will ask for citizen comments. If a citizen wishes to speak, please state your name at that time and I will call on you. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak with additional time allowed at my discretion. Once I call on you, clearly state your name every time at the beginning. For each vote, I will call on each commission member or each board member, and that person will state their vote. An extended pause during voting will be provided to ensure all votes are recorded accurately. This meeting is being recorded and will be later posted to the Grand Prairie website. All right, are there any questions about those rules? This is all new to us, so please beg your patience with us as we go through it. No questions? All right, we are going to begin our agenda and with item number 1. And so I guess it turns over to Lee for you to go ahead. Lee? Still on mute?
Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead, Richard. The next thing on the item is meeting minutes. I don't have to present on everything. You can do that.
Okay.
Fine.
Well then, all right. I'm following the rules here. So our first item will be approval of the minutes from the June 18th meeting, 2020. You should have received a copy of those, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to review those meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments from the board or staff on these meeting minutes? And Lee, please confirm these were also posted online and available for everybody to download?
The agenda packet was posted.
Okay, great. All right, if there are no board members, are there any other citizens who would like to comment on the meeting minutes? Very good. All right, it looks like there's not going to be any further discussion, so I now accept a motion with regard to the meeting minutes, if you'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes, please say your name.
Anthony Blackstone, I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion by Anthony. Thank you, sir. And would someone like to second them?
Second by Anita Tannenbaum.
Second by Anita. Thank you, Anita. I get to ask, is there any further discussion that anybody would like to have at this time? Okay, appears to be no further discussion, so let's vote. When I call in your name, please announce your vote for or against the motion. So we'll start with Betty.
I vote, yeah, to pass, yes.
Yes, Betty votes yes. Anita?
Yes.
Anthony?
I vote yes.
Larry?
Yes.
And Richard Caskey and I do vote yes as well. The meeting minutes have been accepted. That motion passes. Next on the agenda, the possibility of citizens on patrol, or what we've asked for are representatives from the Grand Prairie Police Department to discuss with us neighborhood security and what we might be able to do to improve security. Do we have either officers Greg New or Jim West on the line with us?
We're both on the line.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining this evening. So at this point, I will turn this over to you for any comments you have that you'd like to share with the neighborhood.
This is Officer New. I guess I'll start off one with a question. When we talk about citizens on the patrol, are we talking about the formal citizens on patrol that we have at the police department, or are we talking about y'all patrolling your own neighborhood?
Well, so we are actually looking to you all for help on what we could do for our neighborhood to keep it more secure. So we have no agenda on which way we would go. We are reaching out to you to see if you have any thoughts and maybe able to assist us.
Okay. Right now, we're stuck in, as everybody else, in COVID mode. If we talk about the traditional citizens on patrol, then basically what would happen is members of your community would have to attend the Citizens Police Academy, which is about a 10-week course. We should be starting one back up in, I think, around March. 10 weeks, one night, but it's open to all citizens of Grand Prairie and people who work in here. So it's not just about citizens on patrol. They would do that, go through a background check, then they would become volunteers at the police department and be able to patrol in one of our marked Citizens on Patrol cars. They would use a uniform, but then they would basically be patrolling in other areas around the city, not to include, or, to include your neighborhood. In one of the other neighborhoods that we have, they opted not to do that. So they created their own their own patrol unit. So they were able to put things together and come up with the individuals that wanted to patrol at night. And I think they ordered some signs because we asked them to put signs on their cars so people in your neighborhood would know who they were, not just somebody casing the neighborhood all night long. And then they basically set up their own schedules, patrolled around, and then if they saw anything, they would basically just contact the police department. Even with the citizens on patrol and that, we just ask y'all to be the eyes and ears, not to take any action, just to give us a call. Does that kind of sum it up for you on that one?
Greg, if I could jump in there.
Go ahead.
This is Jim West. And so if and we do have a lot of citizens that are interested in our VIPs, volunteers in police service. If it's in your heart that you want to become involved in the volunteerism program, then the CPA is a great way for you to enter that and come in and see exactly what we do throughout our department and the way that we take care of our citizens. You can do that, and that's also a segue into the COP program, which is more regimented, and there's some training available for you, a uniform, our vehicles, our computers, and that kind of stuff. You can still go back and patrol your neighborhood, but if you do want something less formal and you don't want to go, through the full program and into the volunteer program, then you could actually set up your own informal type program and put a magnetic sign on your car. I'd still be available to help you put that together, give you some general guidance and that sort of thing, but it would be a lot less formal.
Is there any questions on that?
Yeah, this is Richard Caskey again, and I do have a couple questions for you. And let's talk about both what you talked more the formal COP and then more of just the neighborhood patrol. Generally speaking, how many people do you recommend to have in that program for it to be effective?
Well, I know the one neighborhood that we use has about 3 people that do it on a regular basis. How effective is it? I mean, it's hard to measure because in Jim and I's world, it's hard to measure what we accomplish because it's hard to measure how much crime you prevent.
Mm-hmm.
So even although that the crime may be down or the crime may be up, we still don't know how much we prevented because you just can't measure it. So if you could get, I'm not really sure how big your neighborhood is over there, but if you had dedicated people, if you got retired citizens, and they're dedicated just to drive around a couple hours a day, be seen, change their hours, then, I mean, it could always be effective. Again, it may not, you just don't know. And even with the formal citizens on patrol, same thing.
This is Betty. May I ask a question?
Yes, Betty.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. My husband and I used to patrol out here. We were members of the COP. Are they still, when they're out patrolling like that, the second design that you brought up seemed to be like we used to do, but there had a radio. Someone would be at home with a radio to help those that were out patrolling. Do you still have that when you go into small groups?
We do not. You're talking about the Citizens on Patrol we had probably 8-10 years ago when Rick White and all them were there.
Yes.
So
yes.
No, ma'am, it's not that. It's similar, but the difference is that was our formalized Citizens on Patrol, and y'all had somebody with a base station. Now we pushed to go a little further. So now with the formalized Citizens on Patrol, you don't drive your car anymore. You drive a black and white Tahoe that says Citizens on Patrol. You have a radio in there that's connected to the police department. You have our computers, so you get trained. Some of them actually back us up on traffic stops. So like if I make an arrest, then I have to call another unit to back me up to set with the car if we're towing the car. So now the Citizens on Patrol, some of them will say, hey, we'll take that, and they'll come and set with the car and wait on the tow truck so the officers could be free. So they do it a little bit more than what they used to do, as opposed to just trolling the neighborhoods. Now they patrol the parking lots, the malls, at Christmas time, high crime areas. What I mean by that, like if we had burglaries going on in some areas and neighborhoods, we may send them out there to be more visible. So it's almost like what you used to do, but a little bit more formalized. And you're not using your gas, your car, and then everybody has a uniform from the police department. But the way you're talking about it, go ahead. Go ahead.
But the group that goes out that you were mentioning that they had the magnetic signs on the cars, that was the group that we were in too. I mean, we used those. But then how do they report what they see to the police department?
This is they just call 911.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's 3 gentlemen. Yeah, it's just basically 3 gentlemen that took this upon themselves, and I don't know if one rides by himself or if 2 rides by him, 2 rides with each other, but they just patrol their neighborhood when they want to patrol their neighborhood, and any suspicious activity or anything else, they would either call the police department directly to say that there's a suspicious car, and we would respond. If they found other problems in the neighborhood with code problems or anything like that, they would just report those directly back through code, through the online system or anything like that, to get something cleaned up.
But our names would be turned into the police station, so when we called in, they would know immediately that we were with the COPs.
We would do our best,
Okay.
but basically you would just be calling in as a citizen of your neighborhood.
Okay.
And then the signs would just be a sign. It wouldn't say Citizens on Patrol. It might say something similar to that, but it would have more of your PID name on it, so people in your neighborhood knew you represented them. And the only reason we asked for that is so everybody in the neighborhood kind of gets to know who you are. They just don't see a car driving around at 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and just keep cruising the neighborhood and kind of wonder who it is.
And also for officers that patrol your neighborhood, so they readily recognize you when they're patrolling your neighborhood as well.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So any more questions on the Citizens on Patrol?
Yes, sir. This is Richard Caskey again. Just a couple more questions. Once somebody has completed the training and is ready to go, what kind of time requirement do you recommend or ask of our folks? So if we're going to look for folks in our neighborhood to volunteer for this, I would like to give them an idea. We're going to ask you to do X number of hours per week on this after you've completed training and gone through the process.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you're just talking about doing it in your neighborhood alone, depending on how many people you have, you may ask them to invest, an hour, 2 hours a week, maybe 3 hours a week, and then somebody come up with a formalized schedule, and again, vary your time just so that you have it out there. It all comes back to how much time somebody wants to give. But the more you're seeing out there, the better possibility we have of reducing the crime.
And for the more formal program, what would the requirements be for that?
On the formal program, like I said, you got to go through the 10-week course of the Citizens Police Academy, which like I said, I recommend for everybody in your PID to sign up for that. It always fills up with about 30 people, and it's fascinating because it allows you to see what we do inside the police department, the real world. Different facets of the PD comes in and goes that route. Once you graduate from that, then you would apply to be a volunteer in the station if you wanted to, or a volunteer for the Citizens on Patrol, and then they would put you in what we call field training. I'm not really sure how many hours that is. Gary McGahee oversees that portion of the program now. So you may be riding around for weeks learning. But even if you go through the formal side, I think they try to ask for a set amount of hours a month. Because if again, I'd have to ask him if it's 8 hours a month, for example. And the only reason they really do that is because if you don't set a limit or a minimum amount, then some people tend to not do it. It's like, I'll go out next month. But now that they feel that they have to give 6 hours a month to be a part of the program, then they tend to come in. It's a psychological effect. Unless Jim knows more about the hours.
No, I don't. But for anyone who thinks they are interested in that, please send me an email and we can get you in touch with Gary McGahee and we'll get you spun up on that. And again, I believe the hard date for our next CPA is going to be March the 5th. So we definitely have plenty of time for you to think about that, but I can get you all that information for you so you can make that decision.
This is Anita.
Very good.
My husband and I went through Citizens on Patrol, not Citizens on Patrol, the formal training, the Citizens Police Academy.
Okay. And how did you like it?
it was more than what we expected. And
we hear that very often.
And since then, I've even been on the self-defense for women that the Grand Prairie Police Department offers, and that was fantastic. Since we've already,
and thank you.
Since we've already,
the rats.
would our diploma or whatever still be in effect, since it's been probably 10 years?
I want to say yes. I don't think that they have a time limit. The reason we ask you to go through the CPA is so that you just get a better understanding of what we do, because the CPA doesn't really prepare you for the COPs. It just gives you a better understanding of how the police department functions and better knowledge. And like you said, we've had a lot of people come through it that were hesitant or leery of what we do, and they always leave with a different attitude. And now, I don't know if they did it when you went through the class. We've changed it over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. But now what we do is we spend 3 Saturdays. One Saturday we go to the lake so you can see the K9 and the lake equipment. And on another Saturday, we do a taser presentation, a use of force presentation, a shoot, don't shoot. We talk about our use of force, handcuffing, taser, and we always have a few participants that always like to get tased. So we let them get tased. And then we go another Saturday and we break the class up half and half for a little bit of the day. Some of you go through what we do traffic stops. So we explain to you how we do a traffic stop, and we let you experience walking to the car and see what we go through. And then the other half is over driving our squad cars through a couple obstacles, and then we bring everybody, we swap them out, bring them all back, and then we drive the obstacle course. We basically put you in patrol of our patrol cars and let you drive the obstacle course as fast as you can.
Now that is more detailed than what we went through, but we were able to do drive-alongs, and we were on it, and we did see a couple of demonstrations with the K9, but not to the extent of what you just explained.
Yeah. So it's a little different, and people like it, especially when we let them drive the cars really fast. And the people that don't want to drive the cars, we let them get in with us, and we will drive the cars for them. So that's the CPA. I really encourage everybody to do that. On the other side, if you don't do Citizens on Patrol or Patrol Your Neighborhood, you can start up. Y'all have Nextdoor? Are y'all using that?
The app? Is that correct?
Okay, so the Nextdoor is an app that was created, and you also have one out there now by Ring, by the Ring doorbell company. They have an app, and I don't think you have to have a Ring. You could have Nest, Ring, whatever else. But if you sign up with Ring, then you can communicate as a neighborhood through that, and you can share videos of people. So if you start seeing suspicious activity, people come to your doors, you start sharing that with everybody in the neighborhood. And so I don't really believe in the traditional crime watch, the old traditional crime watch. People don't really have time for more meetings, but you could get formalized by bringing everybody together. You could have a meeting with the neighborhood. We'll be more than happy to come out there in person once all this settles down and people are willing to get back together. And then talk about the issues. And then if you could set up an email chain and only use that email chain for important information to the neighborhood. People will start using it for, I got a car for sale, somebody needs a job. And then it starts taking away from what you're using it for, and people stop reading it. And then if you look at a crime watch, what we do and define a crime watch area, if you will get 50% of your participants, and what we mean by that is 50% of a block. So depending on how long the block is, but basically corner to corner on one street, if 50% of the people on that block agree to sign up for a neighborhood watch, and basically means that y'all agree to look out for each other, communicate with each other, and report suspicious activity, then we'll get a piece of paper signed off by y'all, and then we will come and put up neighborhood watch signs in your neighborhood. So the more it grows across the, so, and I apologize, I'd have to go look at a map to look at y'all's neighborhood and see all the entrances, but if we have enough people on every street that heads up each block and gets everybody involved, then, we'll probably post the signs at the beginning of the neighborhood, exits, anything like that. We won't flood every street, but we'll try to get all the ingress and egress areas and let them know that you do, report suspicious activity. And that's shown to reduce crime, but it's there. And I did one neighborhood and had them all sign up about 5 different streets on the north side of town. We put the signs up. People started communicating, and then they thought that the crime had gone up, and they called me, Greg, the crime's gone up. I said, no, it hasn't gone up, and we can show them statistics. But what happened was they thought the crime went up because they all started communicating from street to street to street and becoming aware of it. And the other thing we can offer to y'all, that you get a hold of myself or Officer West, give us a couple of days. We can always pull stats for your neighborhood, tell you exactly what's happened in your neighborhood, how many burglaries, how many to homes, to cars, thefts, or anything else that's going on in there. And if you don't want to wait on us, you can check. If you go on crimereports.com, it's either crimereports.com or crimereports.org, and you can type in your neighborhood or your street, and it'll pull up your neighborhood, and it'll start showing you things that have been reported to the police, because it kind of downloads from our CAD system. But I'd be a little bit leery of what I see on there, because sometimes the data, their system imposes data that's not really there. But it should give you a good round figure of what's going on. Jim, you got anything to add?
No, Greg, that pretty much covers it. Does anyone have any questions? Prompt
yes,
any
sir,
more
this is Richard
in-depth?
This is Richard Caskey again. If you could talk to us about cameras in the neighborhood, security cameras, give us an idea of what you think the value of that is, and recommendations for quality of the video, or what the capability should be if we were to invest in that.
Jim West. Once again, Richard, you can really build the infrastructure for the camera systems for any of you that have the Ring cams or the other names of those type cameras. I know the Arlo, the Ring, and Greg, what is the other one that they all connect in to that same system, the online system? There's 3 different companies that work with that.
Typically Arlo, Ring, or Nest.
Ring and Nest. Yeah, they all connect to that same system, and that allows our detectives to get into those with your permission, to see things that happen from location, from home to home, street to street. Also, you can build your own camera system for ingress, egress areas in the neighborhood, of course. And then there's some new stuff on the market, and we like to tell you that we don't really endorse any one product. We don't make any money off of this, and so we don't like to push any particular products. But typically, there are good, really, in the technology age that we're in, there's just some really good products that come on line that we see, and we see demonstrations. And one of those that we've been seeing lately is something called Flock Safety. And what that is a standalone system that is mounted on a pole, and depending on how many ingress egress areas you have, you could mount one of these cameras that captures both directions. It is connected with the police department. It actually captures each frame of license plates. It can catch a stolen vehicle, and I believe it reads, 30, 40 plates every second. So it's really high tech. It's solar run. There's no wiring or anything like that. It's mounted on a pole. It has a solar panel. And the way that Flock Safety manages that and produces that, you pay a yearly fee for that. So it's kind of like a cell phone, as long as you're paying that fee, and it is about $2,000 a year. But if somebody were to come along and damage that, that's per camera, approximately $2,000 a year, and we'd have to get with Flock Safety to find out those exact numbers. But what that does is, if somebody comes along and damages that, if it breaks down, if it fails, Flock Safety actually manages that and monitors that themselves. They come out and repair it, fix it, replace it. And for that same price structure, they keep that camera in operation 365 days a year. Those are very effective. They're very high grade, high definition. I don't want to say 4K, 1080. I'm not going to go out, that far to say what it is, but it's very high resolution, investigative quality. And again, if a vehicle were to come in the middle of the night, a stolen vehicle, and that camera captures that plate, it sends that information back to the police department, and we know that there's a stolen vehicle in there. That actually has the technology to notify our officers so we can come that way. And that is one thing you could look at. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I was going to say the other caveat of that is not just the stolen cars. It's capturing every plate that's entering, exiting your neighborhood if something happened. Absolutely,
it is building a database. So, I mean, even you, Richard, you drive through at 3:21 p.m. It saw your car in 39 seconds. You were there at that space and time, and that's normal for you. And but that system is going to capture you. It's going to do that 24/7, 365 days a year to build that database, and it's going to share that information with us.
And real quick on the cameras, even if you don't go that route, you can go online to Grand Prairie Police website and grandprairiepolice.org. You can go on the website. On the front, there should be a link that says Eagle Eye. If you click on Eagle Eye, everybody, if you send it out to your neighborhood, everybody in your neighborhood can go in and register on Eagle Eye. And what it does is help us build a database and a mapping system of who has video cameras in the area. We don't get the data from it, or we don't view it. But if we had a crime happen in the area, we can look at our map and see who has cameras. And then you're basically agreeing that if we call you, you would share that footage with us. So we'd ask you to download it or upload it on our system. But that's free, and you just go in there and create the map of your area for us. And it helps us, instead of driving around looking for cameras, to try to knock on somebody's door and identify a possible suspect.
Very good. Are there any questions from anybody listening that you have for the officers?
I just think that whole program is just so neat. The whole program, I like it. I like the camera thing, especially.
Yeah. And if y'all need any more information about it, Rich, you can contact us. And then if anybody there needs a personal home security survey, you can contact us, and we will come to your house and do a personal security survey for you free of charge.
Oh, very nice. I did not know that.
I didn't either.
Yes, sir. And we'll just set up a time and date, and we'll come and walk your house with you and make recommendations for you, lighting, door locks, or anything like that.
Very good. Do you do a similar survey for the neighborhood? And what I mean for the neighborhood is going through and saying, boy, you could use more streetlights here, or whatever, a sign, something that would help with security overall. Do you all offer that? That's something that our PID could actually pay for to help improve security, whether it be lighting or whatever else we could do.
Well, a couple things on that, and Lee may have information, but basically, it would come down to any HOA rules. If y'all had that, could you put some additional lights in your yard? Go back to the old traditional pole lights out in the front, or light up the fronts a little bit. As far as the street lights go, I don't know about adding additional ones. I know that those come from Encore, and they will only put a pole like every 150 feet, if memory serves me correctly.
This is Betty Hasty. I'd like to ask a question. The trees, don't they block out a lot of light and make some of your streets darker?
Some trees will.
Some tree. My alley is very dark. We have a lot of trees that overhang the alley, and I've noticed some of the trees in the neighborhood. Some of the streets that have a lot of trees that it's dark there.
They will if they're blocking the light. The other thing on trees is what you want to do on your tree is what we call raise the umbrella. So you want to go out there and have your trees trimmed from the bottom up, and average is you want to go about at least 7 feet from the ground up. So what that does is allow police cars and us, when we're driving down the road, we can actually view your house because you've opened up that whole front. You still get your shade that you want, but you've opened up the bottom runs of all that. And if somebody's put a street light up and a tree has grown, it's going to block the light.
I think that's what's happened to some of the streets out in our neighborhood. Are there any city codes against that? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
The only city codes I know on the street, and I can't quote me on it. The trees, when they go over the street, the overhang has to be like 10 or 12 feet because of the fire trucks going down through there. So that's about the only ones I can think of. I know Encore will come along when the electric lines run through the trees, and they'll do a real nice butcher job for you. Mm-hmm. And so they won't make it fancy. They'll just cut a big hole in the middle and let the line run through it.
Oh my.
Yeah, but that's the only code I know on trees is basically when it overhangs the street.
Okay.
Are there any other questions that anybody has?
So Richard, Jim West again. The only thing that I wanted to say to add to the crime prevention and the security aspect is that, we can talk about cameras, we can talk about the patrols, the lighting. I mean, there's so many things. There's not one thing that's going to ensure the safety of or the absolute changing behavior of the mindset of the criminal element. But it's all of these things that come into play. Each of these steps, the layers of the onion, so to speak, that all come together to really start to make the difference in those numbers that we talk about. And so we can work with you both together and individually to help you coordinate to get all of these layers, if you will, the cameras, the proper lighting, put your patrols, whether informal or we'd love to have each and every one of you down for the next CPA. Greg and I work real hard on putting that together. And so, of course, together we're going to make a huge difference, but it's putting, the Nest cameras, the Ring cameras and all that stuff together. You're going to see a big difference. And of course, you're going to have that peace of mind, but it's not just, it's real. It's going to cause, those neighborhood watch signs, criminals tell us, the ones that we catch and the ones that we interview and talk to later on are the ones that we manage to, to turn around. They tell us when they see those crime watch signs, they go to another neighborhood. They don't want to bother. That they want to take the path of least resistance. So you know, my name is Jim West, jwest@gptx.org. If you have any questions or we need to take this conversation up offline, I'd be more than glad to help you and guide you through that process.
And Richard, if y'all have I was going to say, if y'all have a newsletter or anything, constantly put in there and remind people how to make sure they lock their car doors, take their keys from their cars, and remove all their personal items from the car that look expensive or any bags, lock, hide, take. So basically, because 50% of the cars that are stolen have the keys in it, and 90% of the cars that we have burglarized in Grand Prairie are unlocked.
Wow. Wow.
This is Betty Hasty. What about sex offenders? Can we now check and find out? We used to could. And
yes, ma'am.
We put out a newsletter letting people know, but there is, okay, could you explain that to us?
Yes, ma'am. I think if you go on our website and look, there's a button that'll say sex offenders, and what it'll do is it'll actually direct you. We quit updating it for liability reasons, but what we did was when you go on our website and click on it, it's going to link you right to the Department of Public Safety, sex offenders. So you can Google sex offenders Texas, and it'll probably pop up the link for the state website, and then go on there and click in there. And it's been a while, but I think you can kind of type in address or city, Grand Prairie, and it'll start showing you everybody in Grand Prairie. That other app that I told you about, crimereports.org, I think it's like it says .org or .com, but it's crime reports. You can click on certain filters to get rid of some of the stuff, but it'll also show you icons for a sex offender. It'll look like a little yield sign with an exclamation point in it. And when you click on it, it'll open up the information. So it kind of helps you in another way.
Okay. Now, are we allowed now to publish their street address like we could several years ago?
I would say I would have to double check for you, but I believe you can because it's public data and it's on their website. It should, if it's on their website and it's open to the public, then you're probably safe putting that out there, because it'll show a picture of the individual, the type of crime, and the age. The only thing I would caution you on is sometimes you got to, if it's your neighbor and you've known him for a long time, don't freak out, because sometimes you'll see on there that your suspect is 50, 60 years old and the victim is 17. Well, you got to look at the date of offense, because we got a situation to where we have an officer that lives next to a sex offender, a registered sex offender, and when he found out, he kind of freaked out a little bit. But now they're friends, and they actually removed their fence between the two houses so their kids could play together, because his victim lives with him, and it's called his wife. And what happened when he was like 18 years old and she was 16 years old, so he became a registered sex offender all of his life, but they ended up getting married and having kids. Does that make sense?
Not really, right? But I'm sure it does happen.
Right. So, I want to look at the ones that are victimizing our children, but sometimes be cautious of what you read on there. It doesn't always make them a bad person. Some of them are bad, don't get me wrong, but if it's your neighbor, maybe sometimes find out, if they'll tell you, you might find out the story and go, oh, okay, you were 18, she was 15, you were in high school, therefore it made you a criminal, and they've been married for 20 years now, so that's a rare case, but just be cautious on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody else have any comments or thoughts or questions? Well, very good. Gentlemen, we appreciate your time very, very much. Thank you for the information. I will be following up with you on this. I love what you shared with us, and we are going to do our best to implement what we can.
We appreciate y'all, and if you need anything, just contact us, and we'll give you some more.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Everyone. Yes, sir. Thank you for having us. Please please call me if you need anything, and everyone stay safe.
Yes, sir. You too.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Very good. The next agenda item we have, this is again Richard Caskey speaking, is the financial review. And the budget was in the, and the financials were in the package that was available online. And this is just a review. We're not voting on anything with this. We were just opening it up. Everybody can see where we're at and ask any questions that they may have.
This is Lee. Richard, I was going to suggest that since the fiscal 21 budget is included in this item, that we save it for the end and then go ahead and review all of the other possible projects first and then come back to the fiscal 21 budget.
Yes. Thank you, Lee. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Are there any questions on the current financials or comments? It doesn't sound like it. Very good. Well, at the end, we will come back and look at that after we've discussed some other projects, and we can think about different line items that we may want to change and adjust as we go forward. Next on the agenda is old business, and first up is report on Hunter's Glen Canal. Lee, I'm going to turn this over to the city to see if you have any comments or thoughts for us on this or any information.
I don't have anything at this time. Nancy, do you have anything?
I don't have, well, today, as a matter of fact, I had an opportunity to speak with David McKee, who's with the city's stormwater department. And I provided him with all of the previous reports and whatnot concerning what has transpired so far. And he said the one main problem about finding a drainage company to regularly handle this is that they're very difficult to find. You'll have a vendor who will go in and do the initial major dredging, whatever, clean out. But for them to come back on a monthly basis is a lot of times not worth their effort. I did share with him, I don't know how many of you have been privy to, Rodriguez had an idea about installing larger water pipes underground, covering it, and that way the water could continue to flow where it needs to flow, but you wouldn't have to be hassled every month or every couple months with keeping it cleaned out and maintained. And I explained that to David. He said that that would probably be way too expensive to even consider, because he said that canal's about 600 feet long and it's approximately $1,500 a foot to get that kind of work accomplished. But I did have a director who gave me the contact information to discuss this with two other vendors, and I just came back from vacation, so to reach out to them and see if I can get any additional information. I'm wondering if even though Jim Swafford and Bill Crawley had suggested monthly maintenance, I'm wondering if it's something that you could look at bi-monthly or even quarterly. You can kill the cattails, but they're always going to come back. But as far as just keeping it cleaned out instead of once a year. But anyway, I'm right smack dab in the middle of it. But David was going to look at everything and get back with me. And so as soon as I get that, I will share it with the board members.
All right, thank you.
This is Linda Langford. So I was just trying to figure out, okay, so this whole issue, who's being accountable to who as far as getting things done? So we have a landscaping company that's supposed to be going out there and cutting things down behind the houses. and getting closer to that area and keeping it cleaned out? Who's holding them accountable for doing that?
This is Nancy, and that's under my umbrella. And what has occurred up to this point, Linda, is if there's not any hard rains, it's easier, of course, because that area is on such a slope. And so they take a smaller tour and go back there. But as you get closer to the canal, then it has to be weed whacked. Now, but they have in the past, whoever the landscaper is on a as needed basis as far as keeping the actual canal cleaned out. That was budgeted since I've been with y'all. It was always budgeted as once a year project.
Okay, so the landscaping company would only clean that out once a year?
Well, since I've been with you, the landscaper got together with the golf course supervisor, and they have a bobcat, and so that's who directed out. I think it was last fall or the first quarter of this year. I don't know what was done previous to that. I know that most of the homeowners were not happy whenever they got through with the bobcat because whatever they pulled out of the canal, you have to let it settle on the bank still and dry out. That's all part of the simplest EPA terms when you deal with them. But then, in June, I think, is when homeowners came in, Dwight and Bryce came in and did it all by hand. And everyone was very pleased with that. As far as the landscapers doing it once a year, it's just the dredging part. They would come along and get as close as they could to the canal and just weed whack it along the edges.
Okay, so they do that here. So then the maintaining of mowing that closer to that had come out. Is that something that they're supposed to be doing every time they mow the area?
It would be as needed, and they're probably, because around the part with paving in, they're not going to get it. They're going to have to weed whack that area. Usually, whenever Landworks, the previous did, whenever I was back there, he only mowed about 2 mower widths away from fences. And then every once in a while, he would mow closer to small area. But it wasn't every week in the summer. It was basically as needed. Depending on Mother Nature, if it rains, then you've got to mow more. So, but that's pretty much how it was.
Okay, then who's keeping them accountable for doing that?
I'm supposed to be keeping them accountable.
Okay. And obviously you can't be there all the time. So do we have eyes for you that can follow up and go, hey, Nancy, they're not doing it? Do we have a place that live down in that area where they can see that and let you know so that you can keep them accountable?
Pretty much, yes. I usually hear from Tony Martin or Bryce if something's askew, and then I contact the landscapers immediately after they tell me what they have witnessed.
Okay. Nancy?
Yes?
Hello? This is Tony Martin.
Hi, Tony.
And hi. Why did it take like 2 or 3 months back in the spring and early summer to finally get this PID property mowed? I mean, we went for months, and we were out here mowing it ourselves. You're saying you're responsible, So what happened?
Well, I do know, Tony, that once or twice when you called, if there's been what they consider to be an adequate amount of rain, they're not going to put their machines back there because, like a year and a half or so ago when Landworks was out there, you could see the actual ruts they put in back there because the mower was getting stuck. So if it rains on a particular day of the week that's usually their day scheduled to be there, they have to turn around and reschedule it because of that. And that's the only reason that I could think of that they would not mow it. They're in this to service the community and to do their job, so they're not going to purposely blow off mowing back there.
The ground was dry enough for several weeks that they could have done it.
I respect you. You know that. I always talk to you, but they are licensed professionals, and depending on the rain, under their opinion, they were not going to put their mowers back there because you have to contend with any sliding equipment if it was dry when you looked at it. It's my understanding that they are the first. You are the first on their list whenever it's time to mow, and so.
Okay. Well, I have another question here. Dwight, are you available? Dwight, are you there? Okay. Dwight worked for weeks on clearing out that drainage ditch. Why was Dwight and Bryce left to do that? And we were complaining about it, and we were worried about Dwight, because of the heat and the sun and the water moccasins and the mosquitoes. Why was he left to do that and finish the job? He finished the job. Why wasn't the PID or the city going out there and finishing it up instead of allowing the homeowner to do it?
That's a good question, Tony. And it looked great. I was out there soon after they finished.
Oh, he did a fantastic job, but it was not his job to do.
Correct.
Hey, Tony, Nancy, it's Bryce. Hey, so Tony, you got a very good question, and Nancy's got the correct response, right? But Nancy doesn't need to be answering that question. So, PID board, so Richard, you answer the question why homeowners had to go out and do the job that you are responsible for.
Well, gentlemen, this is Anthony Blackstone, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me say something right quick. That is the reason why we're getting new landscapers and we're making some changes, because primarily if we had the right landscaping company, the homeowners shouldn't have to be checking it in the first place. That's the landscaper's job, and that's what we were paying them to do. They weren't doing what they should have been doing, and they were missing the mark on a lot of fronts, and that's why we're in the process now of getting a new landscaping company and making some other changes. What we're looking at as the PIDs, we're trying to get everything done.
Who's responsible for ensuring that the lawn guys know what they're responsible for? The PID board in conjunction with the management company, correct? And when it was raised up year after year after year to the PID board, who knowingly, willingly did nothing about it, you're going to pass it off onto the lawn guys? That is your responsibility to ensure that they know that they're to go out there and keep that clean. You failed to do your job.
But we understand what our job is as a PID, and we put everything in place to have that done. When it wasn't being done by the contractor, that's when we started looking for a new contractor. We didn't ask the homeowners to go out there and do it, but the homeowners.
But you didn't understand what you didn't understand when year after year. Well, you did not understand when year after year you said it's going to be an as-need basis. We've already established this has to be done every couple of months. As-need basis is not every couple of months.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking?
Bryce Rodriguez. I'm on Cayley Street. You're more than welcome to come by my house, and we're going to walk this damn canal at any point in time you want to.
Yeah, I've done that, sir. I'm just asking who's speaking because I don't know who I'm speaking to. Who's speaking?
I interject?
I mean, this is not, this is very hasty. Could we stop this arguing? This is supposed to be a community thing, and we are not getting people talking like community.
Well,
and sometimes things are out of this board's hands, especially with us with a management company. That's where, but for years and years, we have had somebody down there to clean it out as they saw that it was needed and never had any complaints.
Well, this is Dwight Germer, okay? And I've been one out there doing a lot of work. And I'm just going to bring you up to date as far as lawn mowing for one. Lawn mowing for one, we had basically a field out there that I needed to really get a baling machine, okay? Now, with that occurring, we were starting to get a lot of snakes and other vermin up into our yards. So it wasn't what you were describing for us to be able to get our lawnmowers out there, even though there were hand lawnmowers, and be able to maintain at the time. The guy could have gone in with weed whackers, a scythe, I don't care what, but you need to cut the grass when it's over a foot high, almost 16 inches to 18 inches high. That's a field, okay? And that's where you have a big problem. So now that you have your lawn mowing group out there, and I just saw they did it today, they're staying up on top of it. That's good. Let's keep that going that way, okay? Period. Now, as far as cleaning the ditch, the drainage ditch, I went ahead initially with Bryce. We started off, and then I continued on until I was able to get all of this out of. Can you mute? Anyway, I was out there digging as much as possible, March to just now, and I was able to get pretty much up to 30 inches of soil out of that drainage ditch. It shouldn't have gotten to that point, but all of the weeds and the cattails and all that are out of there now. I've been able to bypass along the side, so we're able to get the water draining, which that's an issue in itself in that flume. But I had spent way over 150 to 200 hours, and I'm thinking, you know, we've gone far enough. I'm going to probably send you my bill for doing this. But in the meantime, what you're looking at, and I'm an architect, I deal with civil and landscape, and these guys are jerking you around at $1,500 a foot. I'll be glad to do that for $1,500 a foot. But the thing is, if you take a lot of the soil that's at the bottom that's slid already, and that is basically clay, get that the heck out of there. We're starting to fill in the area with basically clippings and other items that can be biodegradable, which is a lot lighter and does not slide down the hill. That's all you really need to do, okay? We have springs back there that since I've cleaned it, I can see water still seeping, okay? But a lot of things too is you've got homeowners that have had basically work done on their foundations that some of them pump it to the front street, which is kind of weird because they're going uphill, but some of them pump that extra water that's underneath the house out to the back, and voila, that's why I've got water running down there all the time. It's not soggy wet, but there are a couple of spaces up along the fence line that are. So key is I don't see that hill moving much as we're talking right now, but I've taken a lot of soil off the bottom So then you have limited amount of weight that's going to drag everything down and fill up that stream bed. Okay?
This is Nancy. If I could interject, I think some of this has been a communication problem, because for the time that I've been able to spend with y'all, have been given the same structure or information from Bill at Land, from some homeowners, that the PID would, and it's on the landscape scope of work, would have on the budget once a year pretty much dredging or cleaning out that canal. And then even Landworks had told me that he takes a mower twice the length of that fence, wrought iron fence, behind everyone's backyard. And there seemed to be a question on whose responsibility was it for everything else that was going down the slope. And most people said that they thought that it was still part of the golf course's land. And that's why it was the responsibility for some reason for the PID to clean out the canal, but you only mowed 2 mower widths, and then the rest of it was the golf course. And then last year when they brought in that little bobcat, the supervisor started saying, no, it's on the other side of the canal where our land starts. So I think a lot of this has been misunderstandings throughout the years, and it's just been passed on. And so I see that as a major factor.
Okay, Nancy, this is Tony again. So is the canal, who does the canal belong to? Does it belong to the PID, or does it belong to the golf course?
The PID.
Oh, the canal belongs to the PID. So when you look at the golf, when you look at the golf course, if you were to walk across the canal and you were pretty much just going to connect the trees that ran all the way down, everywhere those trees are at, those trees are pretty much on the property line.
Okay.
So that tree down there by your house, that's about 10 feet on the other side of the canal. That's the closest point. That's the closest point to the canal.
So that's where the PID runs all the way to that tree on the other side of the canal?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
So when they're mowing back here, are they mowing on both sides of the canal?
Tony, 1 second. Anthony, I know you've walked the canal. I know you walked it about 6-8 months ago. You know what trees I'm talking about, correct? These mesquite trees just on the other side of it?
Not really. Who's talking? I don't know who's speaking to me.
It's Bryce again.
Oh, Bryce. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I did walk it with Tony at some point, but I'm not exactly sure about what the property lines are.
You know there's that kind of like that line of trees that are just on the other side of the canal, right?
I do know the tree not far from Tony's house, across from the canal, on the other side of the canal. Yes, I'm aware of that tree.
Yeah, well, there's that tree, but there's all the ones that kind of run down the canal. That's where the PID property line begins and the golf course begins.
Okay.
Just to kind of give you, and I know Lincoln's walked this before, kind of give you guys an idea of what is actually PID property based on the drawings and what the city yielded over and what is not. I'll tell you that the lawn guys are really only mowing about 50% of what they're responsible for. And I think, and I go back to what Nancy said, because Nancy and I are the ones that really had this conversation, and her and I walked it. I think a lot of that has been communication breakdown and expectation management, and what is actually PID's responsibility, what's not the PID's responsibility as far as the golf course is concerned, and then us actually relaying that information properly over to the lawn guys. Because I can tell you that they bid more money, right? They wouldn't bid it as cheap as they do if they knew they had another 50% of ground they had to maintain.
Okay, now I got a question. I got another question for
Tony,
Dwight.
I have a question before your question.
Okay, go ahead.
Going forward, if we're going to look at another landscaping company, who is going to give them the specs for their contract so they know exactly what they're going to do and be able to do it? And it may cost more, obviously, but somebody's got to do the specs to give that to them. Who does that? Who will give them the specs on what they're supposed to do, what the responsibility is for the PID as far as mowing out there?
Who's talking? Who is it?
This is Linda, your neighbor down the street.
Right.
So
right,
I'm just
okay.
saying, we've discussed everything past. I think we need to go forward and with a plan of action. And if we're going to get a new contract, a new landscaping company, who's giving them the specs for what to do and to get the price and to go forward?
This is Nancy. And always start with scope of work. And it's been the same scope of work that was used 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Even when Landworks told me that they only do 2 more widths. So what would happen is if I'm still working with y'all is I would sure before they start make sure that everybody's on the same page. I have the canal with some of the who were bidding on this, but it's my responsibility to make sure everybody's on the same page. So I would meet with them in person, and we would walk parts of the canal so they understood. If it's something that you want the landscaper to keep that canal clean out, keep addressing any cattails that would come back, of course they would do that. I was simply going off of historical information.
Okay, so do we have a map from this? This is Linda. Do we have a map from the city of what exactly would be their responsibility that would be on the specs for this landscaping company?
Yes, I have that here. This is Dwight.
Yeah, we've got it, Linda. I can email it to you.
Okay, so if we have that, then when is this contract up for renewal?
It already
right, Nancy?
And so you would just have to give them a 30-day notice.
Okay, this is Tony again. Okay, this is Tony Martin again. So, Nancy, am I to understand that you're still going to get a couple of more bids to put in a piping system versus the open canal? Is that what I understand that you're looking at?
Well, Bryce has what is really underground.
You're breaking up.
Interference on the line.
Yes. And so
we missed it.
Hey,
you want to
Nancy,
repeat that?
Hey, Nancy, you got a bad connection.
Okay. I heard a lot of static a couple of minutes ago. Am I still coming over bad?
You're good right now, but you're coming in and out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Now you're good. Talk
okay,
fast.
good. I'll stay where I am because I was walking to the fridge for a cold drink.
Did you hear my question? Did you hear my question?
Yes, Tony, I did.
Okay.
I earlier shared with the stormwater representative for Grand Prairie. I told him about Bryce's idea, but he thought that would be more costly to do one time to maintain the area into the future. So he's going to check out all the information I provided him, and then he's going to get back with me so that I can share his information. But of course, in the meantime, y'all still need to contend with the caving in because that's going to continue to drain into the canal until it's fixed. And I think, Lee, the most recent projections from February were about $189,000, but that includes the reports and the investigation and all that. I think the actual labor costs and repairs were slated to be about 150,000 or 145,000.
Hey, this is Richard Caskey. I'm going to chime in here. Number one, in the past, we've had a contract that said as needed, we would get those things done. We now have a recommendation from the city, which we received at our last meeting, and the new contracts we do will be in compliance with that recommendation from the city. And the city has even said they will meet with the contractor to make sure there's clear understanding of what needs to be done. And that includes treating for weeds, and not as an as needed basis, but at a regular scheduled cuts, and then working on the drainage ditch itself. They thought that might help with any type of erosion that's going on right now. So they said it was probably more of a drainage issue. So any new contract we do will have that in there, and we'll be bid, and we will be doing that, what the city recommends in the future. I'm also going to recommend that we get from those companies a schedule for when they're coming out, so we can notify the Hunters Glen folks, so they can be on the lookout to make sure that what we're saying or what's under contract to be done is being done. The management company has responsibility to check that, but I think the homeowner should know when they can expect that to be done, and help us keep an eye on that. But for that's the plan forward. From what I understand is we would like to implement what the city recommended for that area, that ditch area.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody?
No, well, it makes sense to you because you're living in Country Club Park. Okay. But to me, Tony Martin, who lives here on Kelly Street and back up to the PID here, with the erosion going on behind my house and Carol Kennedy's house next door, and 4 or 5 other houses to the west of me, and some of them, there's one down there that looks like a sinkhole. We'd kind of like to have the bare minimum done, at least to fill that in at the bare minimum. I'm not saying you have to spend $150,000, $180,000, but let's fix what's there, and then let's try and maintain it. Okay, and I think it'll cost a lot less than $150,000, $180,000 to at least put a Band-Aid on what's back here. Because right now, they're doing nothing. I mean, the ditch is there, and I've lived here 3 years, and it looks like it's gotten worse, and I don't want it to get worse. So the PID did a $12,000 study last year or something or other. Well, why spend $12,000 on a study if there's no intentions to do the work?
This is Dwight Germer again. Okay, that drainage ditch right now is 100% clear. Okay, let me reiterate that fact. 100% clear. Now, what I'm doing in the meantime is digging back that hill and putting it on the other side of the drainage ditch to be able to take the weight off of that. What I'm observing right now is I have not seen any other movement going down that hill. So what you need to be doing, which is a hell of a lot less than spending $150,000, $200,000, whatever, is just put in some soil that is more suitable than this clay that we've got, okay? You do that, you put the proper land covering as far as grass and maybe a type of bedding like they tried before, you're a hell of a lot better than trying to do some newfangled type of retaining walls, culverts, you name it. Because right now, it's working. It's clear. I'm done. And I'm going to send you a bill for $5,000, okay? That's way less than $150,000.
Thank you, Dwight.
Lee, this is Anthony Blackstone. Lee, are you there?
I'm here.
Well, I'd like to know how we as the PID or however can hire Dwight as a contractor, because he's the only one that seems to know what's really going on with that. Because whenever we ask the city to do this, the city to do that, they just want to say, well, it's the board's responsibility, when we don't have the expertise nor the knowledge of how to deal with that when we're asking the city to do it. Every time we try to get the city to handle the problem, they'll just say, oh, we'll do this, do that, or we have to do a study first. I'm not sure if you were the one who told us that there had to be a study done first. It's not like the PID hasn't tried to do anything. The people on the board, since I've been there, have tried to do everything and anything. It was the city that was kept us like frustrated. And then, of course, the landscaping company and the management company didn't do things that they should have done. But if there's some kind of way that we can hire Dwight as our consultant, maybe something can actually be done, because he's the only person that's come through to make sure something works.
This is Dwight again. One thing that I've done in the past too is contacted the country club, okay, and I've spoken to Sean about it. Now, it's an interesting thing because you definitely do have miscommunication. Sean, on one hand, thinks that the mowing is basically to the concrete on his side, that he's maintaining everything just out of the goodness of his heart, that that's the way the golfers like it. Now, you think that it's just down to 2 feet or whatever, or 4 feet up by the fence, which is not the case. That goes all the way down, and our property does go basically, say 20 feet on the opposite side, 25 maybe, to the golf course side of that flume. Now, when I asked Sean if he was willing to maybe take some piece of his equipment and pull some of that dirt back that I've been digging, he said, well, I really can't do that because that's on the PID property. Well, this is where we need to be able to work hand in hand with the golf course. I know they're pissed off because they didn't get the condominiums that they were trying to get through, and that's a story in itself. But we need to be able to get some type of common ground with the golf course that, okay, guys, you're going to take care of your side of that concrete flume, and we'll take care of our side. And that's how you can write up the contract, and that's pretty easy.
Dwight, this is Nancy. Last year, or the first quarter this year, Sean did work with your landscaper, and they scooped out a lot of debris from that canal. They also found a lot of broken concrete rock there, but they did work together and do that dredging.
This is Betty Hasty. Go ahead.
I noticed that was a buildup of way more than 1 year. I would say that's a full 7 years of just negligence from when we had the city of Grand Prairie come in and they did all the dredging and clearing out of everything, and then it was left. And what I have observed with sweat and blood is I had to dig upwards of 30 inches to get that stuff out of that flume, okay? So that tells me if there was something done last year, I don't see it.
Well, you guys,
Dwight, I want to say it was done. I want to say it was done either early 2019 or late 2018 that they pulled all that mess out.
Okay, well, yeah, because we had a lot. I've got before and after photos of what you can look at now.
Yeah,
like
because that's why I've got the disaster down here by this delta on the other side. That's where all that come from, is because they pulled all that mess out and they just left it.
Lee, this is Anthony again. So are we able to hire Dwight as our consultant so we can get this thing done and move on?
Okay, actually.
So from looking at the bylaws, Anthony, from looking at the bylaws, there's nothing that says the PID has to go through the city first to get permission to do any work back there. At the end of the day, it's the PID's responsibility. They want to contract Joe Bob with a backhoe to come back here and do some work, they can contract him.
But I asked Lee because I think she knows it better than the rest of us, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, well, what I was going to say is the city actually, remember Bill Crowley and Jim Swalford came to our meeting a time or two ago, and they gave us a list of PID maintenance requirements. And what they said was, we need to first set up a system where the PID is maintaining the ditch, like you've been speaking about, and make sure that we have a contractor, whether it's our landscaper or another contractor, keep it cleaned out according to the standards listed. And that's on page 10 of your agenda packet. Do you all have the agenda packet? And then when we've shown that we're maintaining the ditch properly, the city is looking at budgeting about $150,000 to repair the slope, but they don't have that in the budget yet. They're still, looking at that and working on it. But they're hoping that they can do the slope eventually. But the PID is going to have to be responsible for keeping it cleaned out in accordance with this list of maintenance recommendations.
So, Anthony, at the end of the day, the city's going to come back and say it's the PID's responsibility.
So, Lee, there isn't really a problem with us hiring, if at all possible, Dwight as our consultant or as our contractor, because he seems to know the issue better than anyone else, and he's telling us a lot of things can be done cheaper, and he's gone out to do it. I think if we had a point person like Dwight who could help us take care of this, we could get this thing done.
This is Dwight again. If it comes down to money issues, you can always give me a $5,000 donation. Period.
We just need an expert, someone who can get this done, and with the city, because the city acts like it's too much of a problem for them, and we can't even find the right contractor to handle the problem.
Well, the city has some requirements for hiring contractors. Typically, a contractor is required to provide liability insurance, and they have to provide $1 million each of general liability, automobile liability, and employer's liability. However, if it's a sole proprietor and they don't have any employees, then they don't need to have employer's liability, but they still have to have general and automobile liability. And also a contractor will have to sign a contract showing that they have that insurance and will maintain it.
Okay, Nancy, I have another question. This is Tony Martin. Doesn't the city have a list of contractors that they use for maintaining their right-of-ways and easements and slopes along the highways? Don't they have a list of people that do that?
Well, this is Lee again. This is Lee again. Yeah, Nancy is speaking with someone in our engineering department about this, and she's asking whether they have some contractors that might be, specialize in work like this, maintaining drainage areas. Because we've wondered if maybe maintaining a drainage area is a little bit too much for a typical landscaper. Maybe this is beyond what landscapers normally do. So we're hoping we can find a contractor who would specialize in drainage areas.
Well, this is Dwight again. I did all this with a shovel. How about that? I didn't need no equipment. Now, it took me basically since March to now, but 2 shovels, that was it.
This is
Anita, and I've hire you as a consultant at least, so we can make sure it gets done. Because this is monotonous. This is crazy. It's been going on for too long. It's too much red tape, and it's just outrageous. So, whatever we can do to get it done is what needs to be done.
So
Anthony,
here's my recommendation.
So Anthony, are you the president of the PID board?
I'm just a board member, sir.
Oh, okay. Because, if Country Club Park's on board with helping Hunters Glen do this, and Nancy, the PID's on board, and you're talking to the city, surely we can get, like Anthony said, he wants to hire Dwight. I mean, surely we can get, if everybody's on board, why can't we get this going?
I blame the city for that, but that's another story.
Tony?
So here's my recommendation. I think Lee and Nancy got a few things they need to go look into as far as some legalities. But I think in the meantime, I think Anthony, Dwight, and I can go walk this so that Anthony, being one of the members on the PID board, has a good understanding of what's truly going on in the last 6 months and what's been taking place. And he can understand where the line lies in the sand as far as what's the golf course responsibility and what's PID's responsibility.
I know just as well as the other board members, that's what we've been trying to get the city to address for a long time. But whatever the case is, we need to move on and get this done because it's taking up too much time and resources in terms of just time in general. And not to mention your property, you need to make sure that it's handled. And I don't understand why the city keeps giving us the runaround and keeps giving us this, keeps doing that, saying it's the PID's problem. They dumped it on the PID as if the PID has the expertise to take care of something that needs to be done by professional landscaping or engineers or whatever you want to call them. Somebody like Dwight who can actually help us.
This is Betty Hasty. I would like to say that the PID did not know that belonged to the PID. Actually, it's city property that they've assigned us the expense of. Unexpectedly.
Lee?
Exactly.
What do you say to that?
Well, we created the PID in 2006, and all of the property that's in the PID has been in there since day one. So we've never changed anything. This drainage area has always been part of the PID.
But it was strange. We didn't know, Lee. We were not told. We had no idea.
Yep.
This is part of the Hunter's Glen development, which was, included in the PID.
Yeah, Bill Crowley stated that this land was given to the PID by the developers from Hunter's Glen because
we didn't know that.
At first, I believe it wasn't a part of the PID until it was given to us.
Right.
No, it's been part of the PID from day one.
Well, the PID board was not aware of that. The neighborhood was not aware of that.
Before the Hunter's Glen development?
Yes, Hunter's Glen and Country Club Park and Candler Park have all been in the PID since 2006. The whole PID was put in place in 2006. And it's not at all unusual for subdivisions to have places like this, green space areas or drainage areas. A lot of neighborhoods have places like this.
But PID shouldn't be asked to do that. That's a city problem, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
To add to
that,
the city actually did come in and do a big clean out several years ago.
Yes, you
Public
did.
Works did it, and at the time they said that it cost $50,000. They said mostly it was that expensive because they had to bring their equipment in through the golf course, and they did damage to the golf course when they brought in their equipment and then, hauled it back out, and they had to repair that. Since then, I think we've worked on the access problem to the area, so we're not having to enter through the golf course anymore.
Right.
But
and that's unlocked.
One of the things that Ron McCullough had said at that time was once the city cleaned it out, they wanted the PID to maintain it and keep it cleaned out. But unfortunately, it didn't stay that clean.
Well,
so what's the PID going to do? How are we going forward?
Yeah, how we go forward? How do we move on from here?
There you
go.
Like
I said, when Bill and Jim Swafford were there the other day, a couple of meetings ago, they said that they were looking at budgeting for the slope repair, which they thought would cost about $150,000. So the city's looking at paying for the slope repair, but they want to make sure that the PID knows that the PID shows that it can maintain the slope and not let it all, go into decline again. We want to make sure that the PID's maintaining it, which is why they provided that instructions for how to maintain it, which I included in your packet. It's on page 10.
So Nancy, you're going to take care of this with the landscaping company or get a bid from another company? Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, so that will take care of this issue that we prove to the city that we're doing our part. And then when the budget goes through, we'll hope and pray, because of the way that COVID has hit the city, that we'll have the $150,000 to do the rest of it.
That's my understanding of the goals to reach, yes.
Why don't we just do what Dwight said? Put some dirt on, throw some grass on.
But yeah. Why can't y'all put a Band-Aid on in the meantime?
Yeah, Dwight, you know what you're talking about?
This is Dwight. I mean, when you're putting $150,000 into something, that means you're on the hook big time as far as what you invested, and they're basically passing it off on the PID to maintain.
Okay.
I'm looking at the easiest way to do it, which I've described before, and if you guys want to come by and pick my mind, feel free, but I don't see you spending that much money to do what really needs to be done.
Well, I don't think the cities have that money to do it anyway.
No, but I'm just saying, freaking get a few trucks load of, some topsoil or decent soil, not the clay crap, because that's what weighs down, and just put it in there, put some grass seed on there, and let it go, because I highly doubt you're going to get that much sliding, if at all, now. Because what I've walked through and have been digging through, I can see why it's slid as far as the section it has. You get that the heck out of the way and slope it properly with just some topsoil or what you have left, you're good to go.
Right. I agree.
Really, there's no need to pussyfoot around here. I mean, it's just go.
Contractor to do that then, right? Lee? We just need to find a contractor that can do that, and then we're good, right?
Well, I think that's what Nancy's working on now.
Oh, God. All right.
So, Nancy, you're going to get a contractor to look and see about grading that a little bit, putting some topsoil and putting some grass seed over it?
We're talking about two different things here, guys. Yes, I am working on people who could come in and deal with the drainage in the culvert. The sloping, that was even mentioned on one of the reports that Lee received from, I don't know if it's Geotech or HAF, and they included how to reinforce that slope. Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were mentioning shale, utilizing shale as a means to help bolster the integrity of that slope.
Stabilize the slope.
That's right. The geotechnical report talked about replacing the dirt. He described a couple of different approaches to it, and one of those did involve replacing the bad dirt with different dirt.
Yes.
And I could send you all a copy of the report if y'all want to take a look at that again.
We need to get a contractor that can do it, because we've been talking about it, getting reports forever and a day, and we just need to find somebody that can get the work done, you guys. This is going around in circles.
Amen.
Yeah,
Nancy, how long did it take you to find someone to do this?
Yeah, please, just do that, because we don't want to wait around for the city to pass the budget for $150,000. Because like Dwight said, like Anthony Blackstone has said, and like me, Tony Martin, we all agree, let's put some good soil in there, and let's put some grass seed over it, and who knows, you might get it done for, I don't know.
We should maybe
$20,000,
find
$30,000, something. Just something.
Within a couple of weeks at the most. There's people that got soil and grass seed that can come out and do that for us.
Well, yeah.
Well,
you know what?
A couple of weeks.
This is Dwight again. Just to let you guys know, there's a couple of properties that are on the street with that basically eroded area right behind their houses, and they're trying to sell. And I'm just wondering how they're going to, with that type of thing overhead. Just so you know.
Are you talking about them having a problem with dirt being put down behind their property line or whatever?
No, I'm talking about where the soil has slid already, because that's all that, and it's left like large crack areas. And like I say, I don't moving still, but that's the thing. You just need to remove what's at the bottom, get it the heck out of there, and just fill in with proper soil, and you're good.
Well, that's what we're trying to make happen. If you got Dwight, maybe do you know some contractors that can do that for us, or help Nancy out of finding someone? We could probably find someone in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can probably check around.
Okay, well, great. We really appreciate your help, Dwight, and I still want to look into hiring you as a consultant, because at least you're getting things done and we can move on with this, you know?
Yeah, I second the motion. Let's get Dwight. Let's give him the power to get this fixed.
Dwight, can you have insurance?
As my father always told me, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
Can you afford the insurance that the city requires?
What was that question?
Can you afford the insurance that the city requires? Well, I guess you could put that on an upfront consulting fee.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, what I end up doing is whatever that insurance amount would be, I would basically pass it on. That's the only way, because it's only me.
That would be part of the job.
Yeah.
Excuse me. This is Anita, and I'm taking minutes.
Also.
Okay, can I talk just for a minute, please? We're talking about, Lee and Nancy's talking about special insurance and everything. That's for the contractor. Anthony is asking if we can hire Dwight as a consultant, not the contractor. So Dwight would not need that special insurance. The contractor will. So all we're doing as a PID group is asking if Dwight can be a temporary PID member and be like we have the landscaping committee on the PID who makes decisions and gets the information to Nancy, that he would be a temporary PID member or permanent, it's up to him, and he would be responsible for helping Nancy find a contractor, not being the contractor himself.
Well, no, he can be a consultant because he can get paid for all the work that he's already done, because everyone is doing a lot of work on the board who's been doing so much, and it's been like we've been going in circles, and we got someone who could actually get it done, who knows what they're talking about. He could be hired as a consultant.
Well, how would we decide on what should be a proper fee for him for that?
Well, to start with, we could give him the $5,000 for the work he's done so far.
Well, that's Lee's expertise, working with contractors and all these consultants. But I think we could go ahead and table that as we are in agreement on that, and start going down the rest of things on this agenda, so we can, get this meeting done. And at least we've come thus far as figuring out some kind of way to get this thing done in Hunters Glen. And Dwight's our person for it without any doubt.
You're right, Anthony. But I want to bring up one more topic here. So if I understand correctly what you said, Nancy, the last time that the culvert got cleaned out, it cost $50,000 because they damaged the golf course. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said. That was when Public Works did it. Public Works cleaned it out for the PID, and the city paid for that. To access the ditch,
it was about
$50,000. They had to drive the equipment in through the golf course, and then haul some dirt out, and then leave. And they had done some damage to the golf course, so they had to repair that in addition to the work they did on the ditch.
But $50,000 versus all Dwight was asking for is $5.
Anytime the PID hires a contractor, that contractor is required to provide proof of liability insurance and sign a contract.
Lee is a consultant, same thing as a contractor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't. A consultant's the same as a contractor?
Yes.
The consultant's not doing the work.
But it's still a liability issue.
He's providing a service to PID.
Yeah, you're correct on that.
Okay.
Because we talked about that in the past. This is Dwight again. We talked about that in the past a long time ago when you guys hired somebody to stain those front fence. And I don't know what you ended up spending, but it was just me and my daughter, and it was like, oh, okay, there's too much hassle to go through where I could just do that just for some, vacation money for my daughter. So, yeah, I've lived through that already.
Okay, so where are we? What are we going to do?
So this is Richard Caskey chiming in again. Again, I recommend that the landscaping contract comply with what the city has asked us to do. We do that, and we look to see what a cost would be, see if we can get a bid for someone to bring topsoil in to fill in where it's kind of begun to sink and seed it or get that to grow back right there. Does that sound like where we're at?
That sounds like a definite start, and see what happens from there. That's something beats nothing.
Right. Very good. So now that we've updated that, move on to the next line, and that's repainting the sound wall along Belt Line. And this is where the city had said we'd have to go through TxDOT for that, and they don't recommend that we do that. So that is the report from the city on the sound wall. Lee, did you have anything else on that?
No.
Any other comments, thoughts on the repainting of the sound wall along Beltline?
This is Anthony Blackstone again. Lee, you mentioned they said we could get it cleaned, we could get it steam washed, but I don't understand why we can't get permission to get it painted or have the state at least paint it. Can't we at least ask the state about painting it itself?
It has all that. This is Betty Hasty. It has all of that white stuff coming out on the dark, and that dark has always been a putrid color out there. So it would be nice if we could paint it, Lee.
Well, I checked, and the Departments of Transportation and the Parks Department looked into it, and they came back and said repainting would have to go through TxDOT and is not recommended. And they said city departments are not equipped to power wash the wall, but the PID may hire a contractor to power wash the wall.
But we can see about TxDOT painting the wall. I mean, they'd have to agree to do it, but we can at least do that, meaning that they are the ones that have to paint it, right?
I don't really work with TxDOT. Transportation is more likely to work with TxDOT. So,
Well, you know, Lee, when they put in that wall out there, that's when they destroyed that irrigation system. And why aren't they responsible for replacing it?
It's my understanding that it's been so many years since those ramps were installed that it's really too late to go back and ask that those be repaired.
Okay, and they would, okay, because I was not aware until all of that happened that there was an irrigation system out there, but it seems like whoever, you know, did away with it, and I don't know why we didn't get another irrigation system out there, but it never happened. So.
Oh, you're saying we need to go through the transportation department to see about getting TxDOT to paint the wall, right?
No, transportation said they do not recommend having the wall repainted. They said they don't recommend it.
Well, how do these neighborhoods clean those walls then, Lee?
Why do they not recommend painting it?
Yeah.
What's the reason why they recommend not painting it? Is there an issue with the paint?
I'm not sure. The transportation director wrote, repainting would have to go through TxDOT and is not recommended.
That sounds like a really lousy response.
That doesn't mean that we still can't do TxDOT though. Just because they don't recommend not painting it, they don't live here. I think we should still contact TxDOT and see what are requirements to get them to paint this future-looking wall. You know, but we can try that. I guess that's further along the agenda. That'd be business to put on the calendar to get back to.
Yeah, does anybody, this is Richard Caskey, anybody willing to just try to reach out to TxDOT? Try to find somebody who might talk to us?
You know, I did do some stuff with TxDOT. This is Betty Hasty. I did do some stuff with TxDOT, but it's been so long ago, I wouldn't even know where to start with all of that stuff. But yes, some of us do need to reach out to TxDOT and see what they are willing to do and willing for us to do.
I could do that. I can find the right department to start bugging them about it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that,
and
Anthony.
I'll report to the board next meeting of what I found and what's the progress on it, okay?
We will do that, add that to the agenda item for the next meeting.
Wonderful.
Any other comments on that? Any other thoughts? Okay, we are moving on to new business. And last time we talked about landscape improvements or maintenance along Beltline Road, and we tabled that. Do we have any updates from our landscaping committee on that? Or I guess I should start with the city. Lee, do you have anything from the city on that?
Well, I believe that the Parks Department had offered to pay for part of landscape renovations if the PID would also pay for landscape renovations. They had offered a deal. I'd have to look back and see exactly what that was. They were going to pay for a certain percentage of the cost of renovating the landscaping if the PID would do the project.
Yes, I remember that, and I think they were going to pay somewhere around $50,000, and we would pick up around 70. I think it was $120,000 project or something.
Yeah, you're correct, Richard. That's correct.
And but did the landscaping committee have any recommendations for what to do along Beltline?
Yes, we were thinking about doing as far as renovation up there, Richard. We were thinking about doing Bold Forbes and Holly Hill and Bluegrass. And I do have one bid, but he actually went ahead and did a bid for everything else. So, but he said that's the way he normally did it. So I do have a bid I'd like to turn over to you, Richard, at this time. I mean, soon. let you look over this.
Yes, ma'am. Are there any other comments or thoughts on the...
The company has been in business for like 38 years, and they are a family-owned business. And they said that they did carry enough insurance that they could do it.
Very good. Any other thoughts or comments on Beltline?
Pardon me?
Are there any other comments from anybody? So we can put that for the next meeting to review bids on that as well and get an idea of what's possible to do along the Beltline. And we'll get a report back from Anthony as well.
Okay.
Okay, next is scheduled upgrades on Fish Creek and Deckman. And Lee, do you have something for that? For what city's doing there on that corner? Say that again? I apologize.
Nancy might have some.
Well, Fish Creek and Deckman is outside of the PID. It's just that intersection down there near the apartments.
Correct.
Is there additional work that the city's planning on doing on that corner?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, I was kind of curious what this is, but that's good if that's nothing to report there. Any other thoughts or comments on that? Anybody knows what's going on? All right, we'll wait to hear from the city again to see if there are anything happening there. Next agenda item, we talked about holiday decorations and looking at that. And Lee, I'm always going to give you the opportunity because that's what my script says I need to do is give you the opportunity to chime in first. If you have anything on holiday decorations.
Oh, no. I think Nancy is looking into all of this. She put together this list of items, so I think Nancy probably has some information.
Okay.
Yes, I think everybody on the PID board, you already have the Christmas proposals from the previous meeting, and then prior to going on vacation, I sent you all the proposals from the vendors for doing a few summer holidays, decorating. I've already been sent that information.
Very good. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on that?
This is Anthony Black. So my only thoughts are we need the same company that's going to do all of the holiday decorations. Like they do the Christmas, the summer, Memorial Day, and all that. We need just one company for that.
I agree, Anthony. That's a wiser way to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that everyone sees those, both of those sets. Did you not receive the summer proposals?
I was just checking my email and I did not see it, but I received a few attachments that came out that won't open for me. So you perhaps did send it to me. I just can't open it.
Okay, I'll send the summer proposals.
Right. I did not find those in my email.
Okay, I'll resend it to you tonight.
Nancy,
okay, I'm gonna go ahead, Anthony.
All the decorations, right?
Could you repeat that, please?
Is this one company that's going to do Christmas, 4th of July, Memorial Day? I mean, because it doesn't make sense to have two different companies to do different decorations.
You are correct. The people who provided proposals for Christmas light decorations also came back and provided proposals for summer holidays.
Okay. All right, right. Okay, great, because we only need to deal with one company to do all our decorations, basically.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I will recommend, it's Richard Caskey, and recommend we table that to the next meeting, and then we review the bids prior, and we get ready to choose holiday decorations for next time. Any other comments, thoughts on that? So we'll add that to the agenda for next meeting. Next agenda item is wall fence improvements and/or maintenance. Fish Creek Road is completed, and new proposal for Madeline, and we have that proposal for $1,295. Has everybody seen that?
Yes.
And Lee, I give you the first shot again. Do you have any comments on that for us, Lee?
No.
Okay. To the point. I like that. Any comments or questions on this? I'm going to propose we vote on this, but are there any comments that we have?
I second that motion that we vote on it.
Well, yeah, so would someone like to make a motion that we accept the bid for $1,295 for the repair?
This is Dwight. That's the repair of the front wood fencing.
This is the on Madeline, and it's putting in two new posts.
Dwight, it's that repair.
Yeah, okay. I kind of like the wood.
So can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion we accept.
We accept the
And who made that motion?
Betty.
Betty? Do I have a second?
Second the motion, Anthony Blackstone.
Thank you, Anthony. Any further discussion on this? Let's take a vote on it. Betty?
Yes.
Anita?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And Rich Caskey votes yes. So that is approved. Please get that scheduled for us, Nancy.
I will direct.
The next item is consider authorizing property manager to make repairs up to a fixed amount of money. Lee, again, what is this consideration?
Oh, yeah, some of our other PIDs do that. They may in order to save time, authorize the manager to make certain small repairs, and you can choose whatever kind of repairs you'd like to authorize or whatever dollar amount, just so that, you don't have to call a board meeting every time you need to make some minor repair, an irrigation repair, a minor fence repair, tree trimming, something like that.
Okay. Are there any, I would make this is Rich Caskey, would make a request, Lee, that we get an idea of what other PIDs are doing when they say types, what do they list out and amounts of money that they approve, so we have something to look at would be helpful to get an idea what other PIDs do. Is that possible to get that?
Well, we don't really have anything listed out. I mean, sometimes what they'll decide is we'll authorize our manager to make repairs up to, say, $5,000, but we'll have her discuss it with the PID president first.
Okay. Comments from the PID board on this?
Well, I think it's something we should start considering, and maybe think about what an amount would work for us in that respect, particularly if the manager has to get the okay from the board president first. Maybe we only want to go as high as $1,000 or something of that nature. But let's think about it and perhaps maybe take what you vote on it next week.
Okay. Any other comments?
I agree. We need to think about it and talk about it again at the next meeting. Anita.
This is Betty. I'll agree too, Anita.
Okay. Any other comments? Thoughts? Questions? So we will add this to the agenda item for the next meeting. Please do that. I'll circle that one. Any final comments on that? Okay, the next agenda item is signage improvements and/or maintenance. Lee, what was this agenda item?
Well, again, Nancy put the agenda together, so I'm not really sure.
Okay, Nancy?
Let me make sure I'm on. I just picked that up from the previous agenda, to be honest with you. Your entrance signage is fine. Street signs are fine. I apologize for having that on there. I needed to remove it.
Okay. Next agenda item is utilization of security cameras. And after hearing from the officers, I would recommend that we look into that company that they recommended to consider the block safety and see what might be there. But I'm going to recommend we table that to next meeting. But open for comments. Anybody have any comments on that?
I got a question. I have a question. This is Tony Martin. We've got cameras on Madeline. Who monitors those?
Those cameras were not put in by the PID. I'm guessing they were put in by the HOA.
I monitor those.
Bryce, you monitor them?
I monitor them. I have access to the cameras, yes.
Okay. Just curious.
Well, I didn't realize you all had cameras there, so that's good to know.
We put cameras in and our break-ins went down.
Yeah. Any other comments? And that's a good comment right there. Adding the cameras did help with reducing crime.
Okay. And whenever we had what's his name, Mark from On Guard Security, I had mentioned that they put in the security for Hunter's Glen, so that's how I obtained his contact information.
Okay, yeah, I do recall that now.
Now,
any other comments, or do we table this till next? Go ahead. Is someone speaking?
This is Betty. Are you talking about putting the cameras to the next meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
And the reason is looking at what at other companies besides just one company, and seeing what we can do.
Okay. Okay.
Any other comments, thoughts? Otherwise, I'll move that to the next meeting. Okay, continuing on, we're on considering landscape maintenance contracts, and we have a couple of folks that have given us some responses. Lee, since you always get to go first, do you have any thoughts?
I'll defer to Nancy.
Okay.
Everyone has been given the proposals. I gave them to you at the last meeting, so it's just at a standstill until the board decides who they want to pursue.
Okay. I'm going to ask the landscaping committee, did you have a recommendation for us?
This is Anita, and I have a question.
Oh, sure.
On page 10, Lee brought it to our attention as maintenance recommendations. They need to be considered now when we decide on this landscape maintenance, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
in that case, we need to know from Nancy, are these companies aware of all those things on the list?
Run it through the list again, because the landscape bids were a while ago. They already, everyone has been given a map of areas. It's per Lee's map. And they would, any landscaper would spray around rocks and cracks. And if the board wants cattails killed, they'll spray them usually with a herbicide, and then once they die, they'll cut them down. And then this is number 4 is new, because you want the flume cleaned out. Well, see, this says at least 2 times per year, more if it becomes overgrown. So there's like 2 times per year instead of 1 time, but versus monthly. So you'll have to decide how frequently you want that.
Well, I think the city recommended on there, didn't they? They gave us a recommendation.
And on the list it says, PID's contractor to clean the times per year, more if it becomes overgrown, and that's when Mother Nature takes control, you know. But if you want it done monthly, just let me know, and because that will affect your proposal.
This is Dwight Germer. Regarding maintenance on that flume, really, if you did some weed management as far as some basically herbicide along the edge, that's about all you really need to do, and that could be twice a year. And as far as any cleaning, I would say that's probably once a year. By what I've seen since I've started cleaning with Bryce on the top end and then finishing the bottom end, there has not been that much in that as far as sediment.
Okay. So you're thinking what the city proposed, if we used to do it twice a year, we should be good?
This is Dwight. Is that a question to me?
Yes, sir, it was. It was getting your opinion on that.
Yeah, I was giving your opinion since I've been spending 6 months and I really just don't see that. I mean, initially, once we start with any work on the hill, control erosion, so you probably put up a silt fence and maybe put down the grass with some either matting or loose straw. But once that's over and the planting is able to take root, you should have minimal erosion.
Okay. Other thoughts, comments?
This is Tony Martin. I got a question. So, am I to understand that the landscapers, they're going to be, besides maintaining the slope, are they going to be adding the dirt and the grass seed?
This is Rich Caskey. I think that the plan was to see if we could find a contractor willing to bring in the dirt and do that, whether it's these folks or someone else.
Okay.
To find out who's willing to do that.
Okay. Well, another question is, so Nancy or Lee, one of y'all said that there's access now to the PID property. Where is that access?
It is the golf course about May or June installed some barbed wire right past the perimeter fencing, on Fish Creek Road, and but they have created a way for landscapers to open up an area to get their mowers back there.
So then there is an area there available for the necessary repairs to the slope and the culvert.
Well, you would have to check the width of, like, if they brought in a dump trucks would bring in the loose soil, but how to get it back there, you'd have X amount of width to get whatever piece of equipment you needed to use back there. So that would depend on the girth of that area. I mean, they surely wouldn't just wheelbarrow it back there. They'd bring it in with something else, but I'm not a excavator or anything, so I wouldn't know that. I'd have to check. But I do have a question for you, just to for the board, just to play devil's advocate here. So with everybody I've talked with and about this slope, knowing that irrigation had been at some fault for the caving in, then it was capped back, and then the continued caving in last year whenever there was a lot of rain. Do you feel safe that bringing in truckloads of dirt will deter any future caving in without any kind of reinforcement in the infrastructure underneath where it's all caved in?
Well, that's a question for Dwight.
Yeah, this is Dwight. As long as you're using the proper material as far as soil, I can see that not being such an issue. The clay that we have right now, just to give you a quick analysis of it, is you have it in layers. So when we're cutting for the buildings up on the top, they basically took the soil that they had cut from closest to Fish Creek Road, put it on the opposite side of the road facing where the golf course is, and then compacted that. And what has happened is that soil, which basically clay, you didn't have proper as far as stepping or pinning or anything. So that clay was basically sliding on top of the clay bed that was initially there, the original clay bed. So that's what's happening right now. The lower section, and that's why it's split, is the lower section was so heavy, and that was basically exasperated because looking at the original design of that back area, the original design never had a concrete flume. The original design basically had water that came out of the culvert and basically the drainage end, and then went across the golf course. They have that built right now. The other one was supposed to go where you have right now the concrete flume that is to the east, basically closest to Country Club. And that was supposed to be basically doing the same thing with a concrete flume that was going to go across the golf course and dump into Fish Creek. But somewhere, somehow, it got changed. And when they put the concrete flume in, they needed to get the right amount of fall so you could get positive drainage. So that's what happened is they started cutting it down much lower. If you were ever out there and looked at what Bryce was explaining on the tree the leading edge of the tree, which is a mesquite tree, you'll see what the existing grade was supposed to be. And that really wasn't supposed to be disturbed at all.
Okay, so what
that now?
I'm sorry. What about those numerous homeowners who you probably haven't seen it much in the last 2 months because of the drought, but many times I've been back there in my boots and it's sopping wet because of the drainage, whether it's their French drains or from the station. So what about that into that area that's caving in? Wouldn't it just exacerbate that?
Well, this is Dwight. I really don't see an issue with that water at the very top. At least it's keeping it moist enough right now that you're not really getting the dry cracking where water will get in and then basically help it, because it goes down into that crack to whatever the next basically horizontal strata that you have, and it gets that wet, and then you have the sliding. I mean, that's why you've got that all over this area that you see even on the highways.
Right. Well, my concern is I'm sorry, Joy. My concern for the homeowners is that if we had another really rainy season, so you've got Mother Nature combined with their property's drainage, how those two factors would play into the integrity of the slope, so that the homeowners would not be experiencing another cave-in.
Well, I'll tell you what, the closest that cave-in at the closest point is about maybe 20 feet off of the fence line. So as far as caving in closest to the homes, I don't really see that as a potential. I've been out there basically daily, and I have not seen any further erosion occurring. But like I said before, if you take the heaviest soil from below and replace that with, some good topsoil that has a little bit more sandy loam, whatever, that tends to stay in place much better, and it really doesn't slide on top of what your base is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So when it comes to, I think Nancy's question from a little bit ago, what do we want to bid? How about we get have them itemize on what it would cost for them to clean out the concrete plume, each time, and we can see what we want to do. So we itemize the items on this list. Does that make sense?
Have the plume cleaned out monthly, just as far as their proposals go?
Say, how much does it cost to clean out the plume? How much does that cost? And they may give us a break if we said we were doing it 12 times a year, but at least they'll give us an idea on what the cost is. And if we want to do it twice a year, once a year, we'll know.
Yeah, on the annual scope, it's basically $1,800. But that's just a year. If you had it done more, like maybe quarterly, then it's probably going to take less effort to clean it out, because you're not digging out a whole year's worth of debris and whatnot.
I understand.
So it's
I think we should get a bid. I think we should get a bid for quarterly.
Well, the city recommends twice. We can get a bid for twice quarterly, or as Dwight said, once. If we do it well and keep everything up, we should only have to do it once. So we can see what it would be and get an idea.
No, I mean, They can give us a bid for once, twice, quarterly, and let us decide
Exactly.
what we want to do.
Absolutely, I agree. Are you clear on what you need from us, Nancy?
Yes, I'm going to get the bid to once, twice, and then quarterly.
Okay. Very good. Any other comments or any discussion on that?
Well, this is Dwight again. I have a question for Nancy. Could you send me, I sent you an email anyway, but I'm going to follow up. If you can send me what type of form I need to fill out for that insurance, and I can take care of it. So if you can let the
that
city.
Would need from the city, so Lee would send you what they require, their insurance requirements.
Yes, I did respond to your email, so I sent that a few minutes ago.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll do it all legal.
Yeah. Are there any other?
You got to come up with a name for my business.
I have a question. This is Anita.
Yes, go ahead with the question.
Nowhere on here does this say anything about Chandler Park. Are we going to be responsible for like their entrance and things like that needs to be included in this landscape maintenance?
That's a great question because I don't know what is needed for Candler's Park.
Well, it's my understanding at this point the houses haven't been built yet, so they'll have to be built out, at least 50% built out before, we'll be ready to take that on. They need to build some properties and start paying some PID assessments before we can take that responsibility on. Until that point, it'll have to be maintained by the developer and the HOA.
Yeah. The developer has to donate land to the PID.
Lee, this is Betty. Is there any way we could not have them a part of our PID?
No, that land is already included in the PID. That was actually part of the PID back when we created it in 2006.
It was added on after, right?
No, it was not added on afterward. It was all created at the same time. We've never changed the boundaries of the PID. These are the original boundaries that we've had since day one.
Okay. Any other inputs on this? Okay, moving on to the next. Considering management services, we got bids from 3 management services, and I think those were in the package. Is that correct?
They're not in the packet, but I had emailed those proposals out to the board. Last time was on August 5th.
Very good. So did everybody on the board get the packages?
Yes.
Okay. So open for comment on management services.
This is Dwight. I'm just going to bow out. Thank you for talking, and hope to hear from you guys soon.
Thank you so
much. Thanks for calling in, Dwight.
And this is Tony Martin. I'm bowing out as well. Thank you. Hopefully something will happen now.
Okay. Open for comment on management company.
Okay, now who is up? I kind of like the guy that spoke at the last meeting. I don't know who else is.
The man who came to the meeting last time was Gary Josephson from Goodwin and Company.
Oh, that was Gary Josephson?
Yes.
Thank you, Lee.
So who takes a vote on this?
Who else is up for?
Linda, and it's just the PID that takes a vote on the management company. Does the Hunters Glen, do they do a different company, or do we stay all with the same?
No, your homeowner association can do what the homeowner association wants to do. As far as the PID, the management company will manage the PID, and it does not need to be the same.
Okay, gotcha.
Is there someone else asking a question?
Are you speaking to me? Oh, okay. Did we get any other feedback from any of the other board members?
Well, I like Anthony Blackstone. I like Goodwin and Company's proposal. I spoke with Mr. Jessup after the meeting. I'm familiar with that area that he's taking care of there in Cedar Hill because I work really near there. I've been impressed with it. Their Christmas decorations are just exemplary. They're really good. And I did like what they proposed.
Okay. Any other board member comments? Thoughts from anybody? It doesn't have to be a board member. Okay, that was easy. So, does anybody want to make a proposal on this for a management company?
I make a proposal for the gentleman there that spoke. I like what he said, but some of you that were at the meeting might understand a lot more about him than I understood on the phone.
Okay. I'll give you my thoughts from it. For the most part, everybody's offering very, very similar services. You didn't see a lot of variation from the proposals, and I think Anthony's comment is great because he's gone around and looked at areas that they manage to get some feedback that way. But the pricing is actually pretty darn close. The one company is a lot more, not a lot more, but a little bit more than the others for the management company. But even so, everything is within $2,000 of each other, and so
he seemed to have a lot to offer, a lot of experience.
Yeah, I agree. Very impressive presentation. I agree that he did a great job and seemed confident in what he could offer. So. But I think did you make a proposal, Betty, that we go with Goodwin?
I suggest that we go for him. Yes.
Make a motion. So
I make a motion. Yes, I make a motion. Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second on that motion?
I second that motion. This is Anthony Blackstone for a vote.
Very good. Any other discussion on this? Okay, we go around the room, take a vote, and we'll do it by board members. Betty?
Yes. I vote for him.
Anita?
Yes. Yes.
Anthony?
My vote is yes.
Larry? Did we lose Larry?
Did we lose him?
I think so. Not a surprise. This is a record meeting for us. And this is Richard Caskey, and I vote yes as well. So that motion carries that we will look to bring on Goodwin. Nancy, we thank you for this, for your service. Appreciate that.
And all your hard work,
Lee,
Nancy.
Yeah. Lee, do you contact Goodwin then?
Oh, yes. I'll work on the contract. I'll try to get us a start date of September 1st.
Thank you. The final agenda item is looking back at our budget, 5-year budget, which was sent out. And I would, looking at it and what we've discussed, we have, I think that there's some areas that we could increase the budget for things we want to do. For example, decorations, beautification. We should probably add security back in because we want to go with the cameras, the mowing contract, and probably do mowing contract and landscaping separately, since the landscaping may be a different company doing the drainage or bringing some of the potentially bringing soil in like that. Any other thoughts on the budget and what your thoughts are on it? So this is the one that's marked draft for the 5-year budget plan, 21 through 25.
Okay, on security cameras, how much would you like to budget for that?
Well, for security cameras, the cost from what I remember from On Guard and for these guys was somewhere around $2,000 per camera. I think that we would be probably okay to budget $10,000 for security. I don't know what it would be, but budgeting for that, I would feel confident with that. That would at least get us potentially up to 5 cameras to add in. And I guess I have a question, Lee. The homeowner association is paying for their camera. Does that mean we would pick up their camera cost as well?
If they want us to, we can. I don't know what company they're using. It'll have to be a company that, you know, meets our insurance requirements. But yeah, that's something that they'll.
But that's something that we would have to look at in the future for that.
That's an eligible thing.
It is.
But we need to think about also, Richard. Richard, we need to take into consideration the amount of monies that we're spending in their neighborhood also. So if they could go ahead and pay for that, that would help us out a lot in our neighborhood. We have a lot to do in our neighborhood.
Yes.
Much bigger neighborhood. We have to take that into consideration.
Anthony Black, so I think someone pointed out last meeting that their contribution to the PID is like $9,000 a year, but their expenditures from all the landscaping and everything else and the mowing that's done there is like $13,000. So Country Club Park is already spending more money on their side of the PID, than what they put in. And they always, so it would probably be, if we can keep her separate and let the homeowners association still pay for their cameras, that's probably a better thing in my opinion.
Well, and we would have to make, if they were to go and have us pay for it, they'd have to use the service that we agreed to. They couldn't just say, oh, we're going to use our service and you now pay for it. It would have to be something that we agreed to on that and go forward like that. What do you think about the number of 10,000? So what I'm doing here is looking at total expenses right now. I'm rounding up to about 55,000 per year. We have approximately 108,000 is what we annually bring in. So if we added 10,000, we're up to 65,000 in the budget. Decorations, we have 4,000. Thoughts on increasing decorations? Budget?
You're saying increase it by $4,000?
Yeah, well, we could go up to around 8,000. That'd be about 4,000. I'm just asking for numbers and seeing what your thoughts are.
Right. I'm good with increasing it about up to 4 or 5 just to see. First of all, I want to see what we can get in terms of the companies that we're already looking at, what they can do for us. Hopefully we can get it at a cheaper price as opposed to having to budget a great deal more because compared to what we had budgeted before and what we got, it was ridiculous. It was pitiful.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, and we're looking at going with the decorating company now, not just having the landscapers do it, which I think will be different.
That's true, but I think
we
$4,000 is a good start.
Okay, that's what's budgeted currently is $4,200, so we can leave that alone. Not touch that. Any other comments or thoughts on that?
So for decorations, did you say leave it at 4,200?
Yes.
Okay.
Beautification is at 12,000. Landscaping committee, what are your thoughts?
Well, if we're going to do some stone on some of these streets, we need to really, I guess, up it some, Richard. Don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. Do you have an amount that you think?
No, because that's not the way he wanted to do it. He said, no, they normally come out and they evaluate your property and they evaluate at what you now have, and then they go back and do this. So anyway, but this is, I've been impressed with this company and how they have responded to us.
Okay.
And so I would really like them to be considered for, and they're in Cedar Hill, they're family owned, they've been in business for 38 years, and they've just been very nice about the whole thing. So I'd like
Very
to
good.
look at what I have and just see and go from there.
Okay, do you want to add just another, we're at 12,000 right now is the budget. We could go up to 16,000, add another 4,000 to it?
Yeah, maybe so.
Okay.
So in terms of our beautification, that doesn't include anything in addition to what they want us to do on 1382, right?
Right.
Right.
So that would have to be something separate. So I'm looking down here on landscaping, and I don't see anything down here. I guess that's included in beautification, but I don't know.
Right. I think the landscaping, we're going to have to create a number for that, and that's kind of, I'm looking at that as kind of a lot of the new stuff we're looking at potentially doing.
Well, the difference is beautification is a lot of small projects or, repairs, renovations. The landscaping line, number 68250, it would be for a capital project. So if it's something that we would be capitalizing, I would code it to that line.
So if we were saying we want to do a portion of 1382 and put, I'm just going to throw out a number, making this up, but $10,000 towards it, that would go under a landscaping capital project.
It probably would, depending on what it was.
Right. And then the same thing, if we were looking at behind Hunter's Glen, bringing dirt in, we could say, let's budget X amount of money for that. To that would be a capital project, a one-time deal. Does that sound right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So the 16,000 sound good for the beautification of the small projects and for our
we may not exceed, but we just have
I think so.
there.
But if we needed more, Lee, could we ask for more?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's just put it at that then, Richard.
And Anthony, did you have some thoughts?
Oh, I agree with that.
Okay. So 16,000 for beautification. For the mowing contract, right now we're at about $15,500 a year. If we're going to ask for some more work behind Hunter's Glen, do we want to bump that up to an even 20,000?
Where are they where's all this mowing being done?
Well, we're going to ask to do more frequent mowing behind there. We've been doing it as kind of an as needed, and we're going to ask for more frequent. And plus, bringing in the herbicide and treating it for the cattails and such.
have we been spending all of that 15,000 or 697 each year? I don't think we've been spending that much though, have we? It's been like about 13,000. I don't know.
You're right. We have budgeted for this year so far 15,654. We've only spent about 8,000 of it. So we are only spending half right now.
We're actually not through the year. I'm looking at the budget from last year, so as of September 30th, 2019. So for the full year of fiscal 2019, your total mowing cost was actually $17,200. I think last year you had changed contractors, which is why it changed somewhat. But yes, you'll spend a higher amount.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at what you sent to us, and through what date is through the end of June. So this doesn't include July's numbers. So we have 3 months left on this, and we're sitting about 8,000, about halfway from what we budgeted.
Well, I'd like to be a little bit more conservative rather than going up to 20,000, maybe like 18, because I'm still trying to figure out what is all the bonus back there. It seems a lot.
That's fine. That's fine. Any other thoughts? And if we need to go above it, we can come back and improve that and go above it. But budgeting for 18 isn't bad.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last one I see on here is the landscaping, which would be bigger ticket items. And realizing that right now, by my calculations, we're still roughly more than $35,000 under just for that year. That doesn't mean that we still have a bunch in the bank, but for the year, we're sitting under that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if we wanted to throw some money at landscaping and say we would like to budget X amount of money, we could even just budget, $50,000 for next year, and then any major projects we want to do, we have that money in there, and we can reduce it in the out years. We don't have to keep it at 50,000, but for next year, that would be some money we have if we wanted to use it.
Right. That would be a good idea, I think, especially with us redoing some of these entrances.
Right.
I don't know if that would go into landscaping. I guess it would, Richard, wouldn't it?
Yeah, landscaping, like I said, more of a one-time big projects. It's not a recurring thing. It's more of a, hey, come in and redo this piece of it. Mm-hmm. So if we wanted to do a portion along Beltline, do a portion.
Right.
And budget out through the years that we do, a portion for the next 3 or 4 years until we get it done. And we could also put in there for irrigation system and plan on building out an irrigation system, potentially. Right. So, but what are your thoughts? We need input from the folks here. I think we're thinning the crowd too, but hey, we are pushing on a record meeting.
I think what you were saying is good sense. And
it does.
Once you get more on a handle with the redoing the 13, I guess that'll be a separate.
Okay. So if we want to in the out years, we could step this down, $50K the first year, even add in $40K in 2022. And the money's available for that if we wanted to step that down over the years or keep it at $50K per year, planning for major projects. I mean, we're just planning. Next year, we're going to do another 5-year plan, and we can see how we're doing.
That makes sense.
So if we like, we could do, 50K, 40K, even 30, 20, 10, if we wanted to, just plan it out that way and see what the numbers are. That's $150,000 overall just for that, and we still have quite a bit of money in the bank, from that.
Uh-huh.
And that's subtracting really $35,000 a year from that, since that's still what we're under budget, is about $35K a year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good idea to put the funds there in case they're needed, because when the city looks and see funds just sitting in our pool or whatever in our bank, they start thinking, well, let the PID pay for this and let the PID pay for that.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on that? And do you see anything else that you would like to add in there?
I did see one other thing. I was looking at office supplies. For this year so far, we've spent $750. So I recommend that we add a line to the budget for office supplies of $1,000 for next year.
Yes, I'm good with that. What are your thoughts on the board? Adding an office supply line item.
I think that's a good idea.
That was not budgeted.
Yes.
Not budgeted in the past. Decorations, we're overspent this year already on decorations, so we're already up to $4,700 on decorations.
Oh my gosh, and what did we have?
Yeah.
What did we have?
I'm a little curious on that too.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, but we'll get an idea when we do an actual decoration company to see what we get.
Would you like to go to 5,000?
We could go to, what are your thoughts? Do you want to go up from 4,200 to 5,000 on decorations?
You know, we could, Richard, and just get a feel for what it is going to take for us to do it. At least the money would be there.
Right.
Right. Okay. Other thoughts from the board members? Or anyone?
I think that's a good idea. I don't understand how this year was so high, but
I don't either. This year our Christmas lights were not turned on until about the 14th day of December, and all of them I don't think ever got on.
Right. There were some that didn't work. That's why we're going with a better company.
Right.
Right. Well, let's plan for 5,000. If we need to up it, if the bids come in at 8,000 or 9,000, we can still approve that and be good. We'll just be overspent, and we'll know for next year to budget more.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we've been doing well on money. I'm not too concerned that we're overspending on anything. Okay, any other thoughts on the budget then? So Lee, if you were tracking, we're going to be at 5K for decorations, beautification at 16K, security coming in at 10K, and we're going to run 10K per year out through 2025, Lee.
Okay.
And the mowing contract at 18K, and actually 10K, and then whatever step up that you do for inflation, like you do for the others.
Okay.
Whatever you add for that. And then the mowing contract starting at 18K, and it looks like it held steady, but I'd increase for inflation there. Office supplies at 1,000 per year, and I would add in for inflation. And then landscaping this year 50, then we're going to step it down 10,000 a year for major projects, capital projects.
Okay, did you, on the landscaping, did you say 50,000 the first year and 40,000 the second year?
Yes, then 30, then 20, then 10. We're just going to step it down 10K per year through 2025. Knowing that next year we can come back and see how we did and adjust it, but at least the money's in there if we want to use it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I put all that in, and the total for the first year is $123,496 in expense, with an estimated ending balance of $262,024. And I'll email a copy of this to the board.
Please do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that gives us still that $262,000 that we'd be sitting on. That's if we spend everything. Okay, let me just check and see where we're at. Schedule of meetings. Well, I guess we need a vote on that, don't we? For the 5-year plan budget. So if I can get a motion to accept the 123,496 with an ending balance of 262,024, and with the adjustments that we made, can I get a motion in a second?
I make a motion. Sorry, I'm very hasty, but go ahead, Anita.
Okay, Anita made the motion.
Second it.
Second. Did someone say yes to that?
Yes, Betty said, well, one of us
Betty?
is one and one.
Right.
Betty and Anita. So Anita made the motion, Betty seconded it. And any other discussion on the 5-year budget? Okay, let's take a vote. We have to do the roll call vote on this again. Betty?
I vote to accept it.
Anita?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
Larry? And then Richard says yes on that. So the 5-year budget has passed. And now I'm looking for the, what's that?
I said thank you.
Oh, we're almost there. Next we have proposal to meet 6 times per year. We're still doing that. The next meeting is scheduled for October 20th. Any other comments on future meetings?
That sounds good.
Okay, finally, anything from the citizens who have been so patient to wait this long? We certainly appreciate that. But are there any citizen comments, citizen forum that you may speak up at this time?
Yeah, I would like to apologize to Lee for saying that last comment that I made, because I did go and talk to that man. It was before the PID was ever really initiated.
Oh, that's fine.
But I apologize,
okay.
Lee.
That's okay.
When I thought about, because I knew I've talked to him, and I was thinking right off that it was before, but yeah, it was, after, but it was before. So I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Any other citizen comments or anything to that?
Yes, sir. I have one. This is Brad Weaver. I live on Bluegrass Drive. I've been working with the city on the golf course regarding the erosion along the back of my property. The city did come in and extend the drainage after forcing their hand with the golf course forcing their hand. However, there's already been damage done to my wall back there. I've sent emails. I've called Jim Swafford as well as Bill Crawley, and I just have poor response back from them. So I don't know if I can speak with you, Lee, about assisting me in this, or what's the best way to move forward to increase my presence with the city so I can have some action.
Are you? Did you say that's about the slope failure?
That is correct.
Well, I don't know if you were on the phone call for the first hour.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm in Country Club Estates on Bluegrass Drive. So this is a separate matter than what we're dealing with.
Sorry, Bluegrass. I don't have any information about that, but I can give you the contact information for our engineering department. They may have more information about that.
I've gone to the top and I get no response back, so I guess I will keep chasing it myself.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that, Brad.
It's a pain in the butt, but we continue to push forward.
Where's your house? Your house next door to the house that's been condemned there, or where are you exactly?
I'm 5 houses down.
Okay. 5 houses down. Is that 5 houses down toward 1382, or 5 houses down toward the other direction in the east, I guess?
The other direction, but towards Holly Hill.
Oh, okay, you're there then. All right, I just wanted to know, because when I walk, I like to see where all these things are happening. I've been looking at that condemned house still, and that slope is still at the end of the driveway. It's like it's just hanging by a thread. Looks like I don't know what they're gonna do. Something needs to be done though.
And now it's affected their neighbors, and part of their yard is starting to wash into the creek as well.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Are there any other citizen comments for the meeting? And Brad, I'll just comment again. It's with Cassie. Okay, but the two at large, I don't know if you've reached out to the two at large city councilmen as well.
No, I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Yeah, so there are two city council members. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Two city council members?
Yeah, which are at large. So they cover the whole city. So instead of just reaching out to Jim, you could reach out to them as well. Because they cover the whole city.
That's searchable on
the
Google
city
or
website.
something else.
Okay. You go to the city website and you can see the council members and you'll see the two at large.
Perfect.
That's just another place to try. You bet. One last time, go around. Any other comments?
Hey, this is Nancy. Richard. I wanted to tell you all that I enjoyed working with you, and hope you get some of the answers you've been looking for several years. I know it's quite frustrating.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you,
Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. We appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
And you're right, it is frustrating.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yes. Okay, so having reached the end of our agenda and then some, I now adjourn the meeting at 9:33 p.m. A record meeting, one for the books. Can you put that in the record book for us, Lee?
I went through 2 handsets batteries through this meeting.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, thank you to everybody who stayed this long. We got a lot done, and I really appreciate your patience and your willingness to serve. That is outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night.